Okay, today we're going to be manipulating some data in Excel. And remember, Excel is just one of three big name brands for a spreadsheet application. For example, here we got Microsoft as the company that owns Excel, Apple owns Numbers, Google owns Sheets. Many of you have used Google Sheets before, some of you might have used Apple Numbers and Excel. So the three big companies, Microsoft, Apple, Google, it's like Coke, Pepsi, and Big K for colas, just different name brands, but the products pretty much do the same thing. So we're going to be using Excel today. And why do I find it so valuable that you guys gain skills, the basic skills of manipulating data in Excel? Because once you get to be in your 20s, almost every employer is going to just have this expectation that you know the basics of Excel and how to manipulate data. Simple, not the advanced features, but they expect you to know the basics, how to edit data and manipulate it. And the earlier you have that skill set of learning Excel or Apple Numbers or Google Sheets, the sooner you have these skills, the more money you can command at an earlier age, because now then you have skill sets that other people don't have. It makes you more valuable in the workplace. So that's one of the reasons that I keep drilling this, coming back to Excel and having you guys work in Excel. I want you all to be proficient by the end of the semester. All right, now where did I get all this data? I went ahead and went to this website called Worldometer, and here I was on their homepage, and there's a little coronavirus section. It's a fantastic website that just gives loads and loads of data about the world, just world stats, and you can see right here on their homepage, current world population, births this year, deaths this year, today, by day. That's an interesting one. Let's see, it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon right now when I'm recording this, and there's been 262,000 births so far. Amazing. Anyway, it's a fun site. I'm going to go ahead and click on the coronavirus to make this relevant, data that's relevant to our time period right now. And I went ahead and I just grabbed right here, highlighted, and I highlighted all the way down, copied, and I pasted it. Most websites will have like a little button that says export to Excel or CVS. So anyway, and most of the time you can just click that and it brings the database in, like we did with the database from the CDC, Centers for Disease Control, earlier in the semester. All right, so today I just pasted it in here and then I cleaned it up a little bit. You'll see I got rid of some of the columns. How did they sort this one? It's sorted because you might look at this and go, wait, USA, India, Brazil, that's not alphabetical, and it's not. It's sorted by this first column here, which is total cases. So the US has the most cases so far, at least diagnosed, or I should say tested positive. But then again, we have the most tests. So if I go right here, let's go back. The most tests, total tests, we have the most in the world. 644 million tests have been given in our country, even though our population is only 333 million. So that would make sense that we've tested the most positive cases. But we'll get into, anyway, I just wanted to point out that this is not alphabetical. It is sorted by total cases, but we're going to manipulate this to try to learn some other facts, interesting facts about this data. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hide B and C. I'm going to click up here with a down-facing arrow, click with my left mouse hold, drag over to C, and now I'm going to let go, and I have both columns selected. I'm going to do a right mouse click up there and choose hide that data. I'm not going to delete it, I'm simply going to hide it. Notice A, then it goes to D. And that way, in case I want that data later on, I still have access to it. Now I'm going to look at total deaths. So I'm going to first of all just click anywhere in this data set. And as long as it's continuous, oops, you notice what happened? I accidentally clicked on, I think, Brazil. These hyperlinks over here take you back to the Worldometer and they give you specifics about each country. But anyway, if I'm just selected in any cell in here, and as long as there's no open column or open rows, it will automatically assume that I want all of that data set when I go in here to I go to data, when I go to the sort function. So I want you all to do this with me. First, I want you to hide those two cells. So pause it and hide those two columns if you haven't done so. Then you're going to click on Data and go to Sort. And it should, notice how it grays out behind all the way down. It should just gray out all of the continuous data, and it's selecting that for us. Now, let's say you've got a data set that might have a break in it, like a blank line. So I'm just going to go ahead and add one. Right mouse click, insert, and I'm going to add a blank line. So now if I'm sitting here and I go to Sort, notice it only selected the top area, but it stopped wherever there's a break in the data. Well, in that case, then you'd have to just simply click, and you want to highlight the entire area that you want. I'm going to hold down my Shift key, my Control key, and hit End. And it takes me down to the bottom right corner of the data. And so now I'm going to scroll up and show you, but it's still selected. So now it's selected that blank row. And that doesn't matter because I'm going to go ahead and sort this. And I want to sort it by total depths. And I click this. If this isn't selected for you, make sure you click this. My data has a header row. If you don't select this, then watch when I go to Sort By. It just says column A, B, C, D. It says, which column would you like to sort it by? But my column does have header rows with labels at the top. So I check this, and now it says, it gives me the name of those headers. So I'm going to go ahead and sort it by total depths. And then I want it to be largest to smallest. So it puts the countries with the most deaths first. Then I'm going to hit OK. And USA does have the most. And by the way, obviously you could see this is October 3rd, was yesterday when I downloaded this data. And today while I'm making this video, it's October 4th. So if, when you saw me looking at these numbers, if any of them are a little bit different, it's because it's one day later. No biggie. All right, so now we're sorted by total deaths. Now if I were to scroll all the way down, I'll hit Control and hit End on my keyboard. And now that blank line that we had just got pushed to the end that I inserted. It's probably this one. So anyway, I'm going to hold down Control and hit my Home key to get myself back up top. Oh no, wait a minute, look at that. Here's the one that was blanked out because there's nothing here. So that's where the blank line went. So if you guys sorted it with the blank line, you can always delete that or just leave it. It doesn't matter because we're not really looking at all these small numbers down here. So I just deleted that, but Control Home. All right, so now you should have your data sorted like mine. And for this to be meaningful by total deaths, this isn't really all that meaningful because some countries have a much higher population, so you'd expect them to have a higher total deaths. What we want to look at, though, to be able to compare apples to apples, we want to look at the total deaths divided by the total country population to see what's the death rate based on the total population. So let's go ahead and do a right mouse click on this column E up here. Make sure you're up high on the letter E, the header. Right mouse click, insert a new column, and we're just going to call this death rate of total population. And now the wrapping was turned on because it uses the same format as this, but if for some reason yours doesn't wrap and it's all across, what you can do is click between where you want it to wrap. And so for example, if I wanted it to, I'm going to turn this off, the wrapping, so that I can show you. So let's hit escape, I'll go in here to format cell. Actually, I'll just go up here and I'll turn off the wrap text on this. So now it's all in one line. And I can either double click down here and put my cursor where I want it to start wrapping each section, or I could do it up here. And so if I hold down my Alt key and hit enter, it wraps there. And I might want it to wrap right here, so I'll do it here as well. Alt, enter. And then I'll hit enter to accept that. And now it auto-adjusted. If it didn't auto-adjust and it's still hiding some data, just go like this, get a double-headed arrow over here, and double click. All right, now let's go ahead and do the calculation. This calculation is going to be simply total deaths in that country divided by the total population. So let's tell Excel that we're going to make a calculation by typing in an equal sign. Click on the cell that you want to be the numerator, and we'll click the / for divided sign, and then click on the population. And now when I hit enter, it says 0.00, and so I'm going to go ahead and change this into a percentage. I'm going to click on the percent, and you're like, well, still 0%. That makes sense because it's 2 decimal places past, and if you take a look, there's 2 decimal places, both zeros. So let's go ahead and put that back. So to make this more meaningful, we need to increase our decimal place, and that would be this one, increase. So I'm going to click on this little button a couple times. I think I'll do 3. I'm going to go 3 decimal places as a percent. Now, rather than having to do this all the way down, I'm going to go ahead and just use the fill handle. Be sure that you're not in edit mode. If it's like this, it won't work. So I'm going to be out of edit mode, meaning if you just deselect it and then select it once, use the little fill handle, and we can fill this guy all the way down. It should be about 224. There we go. So I'm going to hold down my control key and hit home again. Control home takes me up to the top. Okay. And you'll notice that I have the top row frozen. That we've learned this in a few assignments so far. It depends on which class is looking at this. Some of you, especially the computer apps class, you all have learned this feature already. Some of the other courses, you guys haven't learned that yet, and that's in the view menu, freeze panes. So I can unfreeze and then watch when I scroll. Then it's meaningless when I go way down here in the database, Georgia. What? By the way, that's the country, not the state. And I look across and I'm like, well, what do these columns stand for? Well, I can go to view and freeze the top row. Oops, I just realized that I'm not. I need to unfreeze and go to control home and now freeze the top row because it freezes the top row on the screen. There we go. Well, that makes it useful. All right, so death rate total by now. Notice all these numbers are changing. It's not in order anymore. It's definitely not sorted. So let's go ahead and sort this table by death rate, and let's see which country has the highest death rate. So again, I can select anywhere in my data, or I could select all of the data by doing this if I want to. I can hold down my control key, my shift key, because shift is for selecting, and I can hit my end key. And then I can do another sort on my data, make sure my data has the header turned on. And this time, instead of total deaths, I'll take it by the total, the death rate based on total population. Largest to smallest, I'll keep that selected. I'm going to hit OK. And it looks like, now some of these, they don't have anything. So it's saying this is higher because they don't have a population filled in. That worldometer must have not had that. So since the rates are so small, and these are small ones, I'm just going to go ahead and highlight these, right mouse click, and I'm going to delete them because we don't really care about the entire database. We just want to see which countries have the highest based on the highest death rate, which is this number divided by this number. So with a country of 33 million, looks like Peru has the highest death rate at 0.59. Now what does that mean, 0.59? It means, so watch, if I had 1,000 people, here's how you can do it. I could do this in my head real easy. I could just say move the decimal place. But out of 1,000 people, now if it's a percent and it's 5%, then it's easy. You say, well, that's 5 out of 100. 5 out of every 100 people that have died. But since it's 0.5, it's a little bit harder to figure out. So in my head, I just moved the decimal and I say, oh, that's out of 1,000, so it's 5 out of 1,000 people, 5.9. But if you're not sure how to do that in the future, the easiest way to do this is just take 1,000 over here, and then take an equals, multiply this, times, this one I'm just using my arrow keys, times this percentage. And now we'd say, out of 1,000, it's 5.9 people. If it's even a smaller decimal, maybe I'll say out of 100,000. 59 people out of 10,000. Out of 100,000 would be another 0. So 594 people out of every 100,000 people have died in Peru, is what that's saying. So let's go down. So if it's a point with a number, that's out of 1,000. So 5 out of 1,000, 3 out of 1,000, 3 out of 1,000. Bosnia, then North Macedonia, Hungary, Montenegro, Bulgaria, Gibraltar. Now look at the numbers here, even though it starts at number 2 over here, so really that's number 1, that's the first. Well, let's go ahead and add. I'm going to do a right mouse click, insert, and I'm going to go ahead and I want you guys to do this too. I'm going to type in a 1, type in a 2, and now I'm going to highlight these two and use the little fill handle. When I fill it down, I just keep going. I'm holding down my left mouse key and I'm just pulling. And if I move down here a little bit, it goes faster. And I really don't need to go all the way because I just wanted to see the top ones. Control home, and so then I can see what place value they're in. So it looks like as a total death rate, as a total population, let's see where the United States falls. There we are. So 20th in the world. We've got the 20th death rate. Oops, I keep clicking that, sorry. Which is surprising. You would think the United States, being one of the leading countries in the world, both financially and technologically, wouldn't think that we'd have such a high death rate, but we're in the top 20 for death rates. And it's interesting when you look at all the other countries, look at the company that we're in. Then which countries that we are familiar with have the lower death rates? Let's go way down. Let's see, wait, we are at how many per 1,000? Sorry, 2. So it looks like 2 people per every 1,000 people that live in the United States died of COVID according to our CDC numbers, which would be this number. This is what the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, puts out. Now if we scroll down, take a look at some of these down at the bottom. Haiti, 0.005. Australia, 0.005. South Korea. It's interesting because look at how much less the death rate is. Japan, 0.014. That means only 1 person out of 1.4 people out of every 10,000 people. Not out of 1,000, but out of 10,000, because we're moving the decimal place even one more. Anyway, it's just interesting. This is why we're doing this activity. Is we're making this data more meaningful so that we can analyze it a little bit more meaningful. And so that's it for today. So I just wanted to have you guys manipulate. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to be your finished product will look like this. Your finished sorting will be by death rate, and that's it for this video.